Satanism. To most, it conjures images of medieval black masses or sinister deeds done for the devil. Must expose all the evil being done in the name of Satan.
Ready, Betty. All right, here we go. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Charlatan's Web. Hopefully you can hear me. It looks like you can though, so we don't got an audience right now. If you can't tell, we're at a new time, so yeah, new time, new day, and new time. So thank you so much, Steph, for joining me tonight. Stephanie Helms is joining me to go over the Nuwaubian cult, the Nuwaubian Nation, as they call themselves, and their cult leader, Dwight York, who is our charlatan that we're going to be covering. So let me see here. We're going to share just real quick to see who is Dwight York. It's this guy right here. There we go. All right, yeah, it's this guy right here. And he is a cult leader, also known as Malachi Z. York, Isa al-Hada al-Mahdi. He was, this cult started as like a spinoff of Islam. Anyway, as an American cult leader and black supremacist ideologue and convicted predator on children, best known as the founder of the Nuwaubian Nation, a black nationalist, a new religious movement that has existed in some form and under various different names since the 1960s. Yeah, I think we have the cult here too. Let me see. I still got some of this stuff set up for.
Ooh, I was muted. How about that?
Yeah.
He sort of comes out of Islam a few times removed. Out of the nation.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a reflection of Islam.
and the whole thing. I'm not trying to praise any particular religion or denigrate anybody, but
Islam does have its child predader problems.
different flavor. But yeah, it shares that child predator problem with many little cult-ish or cult-y or single-figured focused organizations. You can think of, I don't know. We'll get into roadside attractions and stuff, which is really rather interesting. Kind of reminds me of, let me think. Dinosaur Adventureland also had a little bit of a
Yeah, we've done Dinosaur Adventureland
problem.
on here. I did it with Doc Dino. You remember Doc Dino? Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been a Charlatan's Web. We've been down to Lenox, Alabama, to see the Dinosaur Adventureland.
And now we're going next door to
Yeah,
Georgia.
to Little Egypt. All right, and the channel that I found to present this for us, it says it's the Georgia Gazette. I don't think we'll get in trouble for using it. It's pretty fair use stuff that's on here, but regardless, just saying that right now, putting that down here at the very beginning. We're reviewing this under fair use to better understand the way the media is presenting this story. Anyway, let us get started. Here's our host. Let me know if it sounds all right to ya.
Parts of taking a road trip through Georgia is that we have no shortage of roadside attractions, whether it be the world's largest peanut in Ashburn, the gigantic chicken in Marietta, or the defunct Georgia Guidestones in Elberton. There's always something interesting to see. However, if you found yourself in Putnam County in the mid-90s to early 2000s, a strange set of structures may have left you thinking that you took a wrong turn and ended up in Las Vegas. Smack dab in the middle of this rural farming community was what appeared to be models of Egyptian pyramids, statues, and even a sphinx.
I forgot to explain the drinking. I will take shots of alien head for super chats that are $5 or more. So if you want to get me lit, that's how I recommend you do it, and get the alien shot glasses.
Nice.
Just putting that out there. Yep. All right. So
May have looked like any other roadside photo opportunity. This place was no attraction. In fact, the campy exterior was just a facade for an extremely sinister cult known as the United Nubian Nation of Moors. The group's leader, who claimed to be extraterrestrial in origin, was able to manipulate his followers.
Oh yeah, he's an alien.
It wasn't always, though.
He makes a lot of claims about being a lot of things.
He got there eventually,
Yeah.
He followed trends. And for the last trend he followed was unfortunately getting arrested and locked up by the FBI. But
Yeah, which is the other fork of that. The other prong of that fork is usually getting gunned down by the FBI or committing mass
That's the other problem,
self-termination. Yeah, so he took the most peaceful route out, I guess.
Practicing polygamy, racial
still doing
supremacy,
okay, I guess.
and perpetuating heinous sexual abuse against women and children. Even though the group got its start in New York, we're about to uncover what exactly happened when the devil came down to Georgia. I'm Joshua John with Behind the Headlines, and this is an episode you're not going to want to miss.
Behind the headlines. There's always more. Behind the headlines for the third time. Presented by the Georgia
The
Gazette.
1960s is often referred to as one of the most tumultuous decades in world history. With the civil rights movement and anti-war protests at an all-time high, young people especially were yearning for change. New music, artistic expression, and even drugs provided some solace during a time of such social upheaval, but it still wasn't all peace and love. 60s counterculture also gave rise to some of the most prolific cults like the Manson family, Heaven's Gate, and Jonestown. And even though it might not be as well known, the cult we're going to discuss today definitely makes the list. From the outside looking in,
He had the hind lines. There's always more. These Moors are pretty. It's kind of funny because you see him here with his Egyptian themed stuff. And you saw the Egyptian themed like park or whatever. Remember that the The group also acquired some Native American aesthetic for a while too. He called himself Chief.
Yeah, that was a later development, though.
Yeah.
It started out a little bit more grassroots, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Nubian nation of Moors
Of
appeared to be
course,
just
you
another.
consider the grass to be Egyptian grass.
Yeah.
Eclectic New Age religion. By seemingly blending together elements of Islam with other traditional beliefs, you think that their teachings would include high moral standards. However, after making the move to Putnam County, an investigation into the group's leader would prove the complete opposite. And I want to warn you that some of what was discovered going on behind closed doors is disturbing. So how did a group like this end up in Georgia to begin with? To answer that question, we need to go back to the beginning to talk about the group's infamous founder, Dwight York. On June 26, 1945, Dwight D. York was born to parents Miriam and David York Sr. There is some
I
discrepancy.
wonder if he's named after Dwight D. Eisenhower. Just like
Maybe.
Dwight D. Yeah.
See whether he was
Yeah,
born in
yeah,
Massachusetts
well,
or
you know.
Maryland, but regardless,
At the time, General Eisenhower was like a national hero and stuff.
he was raised in New York City. Dwight was one of 5 siblings, and growing up, the children were not raised particularly religious. In fact, to make ends meet, Dwight's father, David, was involved with gangs and was referred to as a pimp, and spent a lot of time in and out of prison. As a young man, it seemed like Dwight wanted to
What's wrong with that? No, I'm just.
Oh.
Like
Lots of stuff.
you don't have to be who your ancestors were, right? I have a grandpa that was a pimp. Doesn't mean I'm a pimp. I'm a dominatrix.
Okay.
from his father's example of crime and objectifying women. At 18 years old, he got a steady job working at an antique store. It was there that he met a woman named Dorothy Johnson, who would soon become his wife. The two went on to have 6 children, and while all seemed well at the beginning of their marriage, it soon became apparent that the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. In 1964, Dwight was arrested and charged with the statutory rape of a 13-year-old girl. And for this, he was only given a
Yeah,
slap.
there's gonna be some. It's giving people a heads up. There's gonna be some graphic language and some references to
And
things that could be triggering to people depending on your background. So, go ahead, Steph.
yeah, there's all sorts of abuse, both psychological and of the sexual type. That guy was a manipulative bastard, basically, and to just not to put too fine a point on it, rather like, yeah, well, I don't know, it's Kent Hovind
Yeah.
or Joseph Smith, or let's be ecumenical here. There are some parallels that we're going to get to, I think, with some of the stuff in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints too, which is really kind of weird, which also has its little problems with CSA these days and racism.
Yeah.
But of the other variety.
On the wrist with a suspended sentence and probation. However, this leniency clearly made Dwight feel like he was above the law, and as a result, he violated his probation and ended up in prison for 3 years due to a gun violation. And many men in prison turn to religion to help find peace, seek forgiveness, and
Seems like it always makes people worse to go to prison. Like they meet other people who are criminals and work together to learn how to be better criminals, pass criminal information to each other.
I don't know, but what this is an interesting editorial choice too, because it shows the person in the orange jumpsuit reading from what is clearly a Quran.
rebuild their lives with a positive support system. Dwight York was no different, and it was in prison where he first was introduced to the Nation of Islam. Now, it's important to note that while the Nation of Islam, or NOI, claims to be a form of Islam, Most Muslims actually consider this group and its teachings to be blasphemous, and it's even often referred to as a hate group. I do want to mention that in this story...
It is recognized by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They recognize that this is a hate group.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be discussing a few different religions.
And particularly in the period that Mr. York was getting involved with the Nation of Islam, the honored Elijah Muhammad was the leader of the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X was leaving the Nation of Islam, eventually to be assassinated by someone who was a member of the Nation of Islam. It was a movement in ferment. It was really bubbling and changing. And so this was before Louis Farrakhan took over the movement. So it's kind of an interesting time for this guy to get into it. But we'll see, he took the templates of how the movement was built to do his own thing.
Trying to go through the theology of each one could get convoluted and confusing, so I'm going to do my best to summarize. From what I've gathered, the NOI is one of the oldest black nationalist movements that hopes to reclaim what it considers to be African American people's
Is that Malcolm X right there on the cover?
No, that is Louis Farrakhan.
Louis Farrakhan? Okay.
Yeah, who is still the leader of the Nation of Islam, as far as I know. And
true Islamic idea.
He actually forged an alliance. Speaking of how culty friendly things are here, he forged an alliance with the Church of Scientology about 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
Yeah. All kinds of fun.
It teaches that there has been a sequence of gods, each taking the form of a black man named Allah. It perpetuates the idea that white people were created in a lab by scientists and therefore lack inner divinity and are inherently evil. It is notoriously anti-Semitic, homophobic, and believes the races should be separated. So based on these ideas alone, I'm not sure if this was the most positive support group Dwight could have joined. However, during the 60s, it was being promoted as a group for black empowerment and racial pride. Even though Dwight was a converted...
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's like it's the Malcolm X connection, right? That makes it seem like...
Well, what happened... Malcolm was... he was focused on the social side of things and saw the Nation of Islam and the honorable, quote-unquote, Elijah Muhammad as a potential force for shifting the narrative. But then he went off to, he did the Hajj, he performed the Hajj, went to Mecca and saw how broad the true Nation of Islam, the Dar al-Islam, which Dar al-Islam would translate into the world of Islam, was in fact a worldwide religion with different people of all kinds of nationalities, all kinds of races, all kinds of stuff. And he came back really changed, and left. And there were serious disagreements around that time, which eventually led to his being killed, because he was saying, listen, if we really want to change things, we got to change things affirmatively. Not through exclusion. Yeah, we need to tell the truth about the oppression that people are experiencing, and we need to demand that we have our own dignity, but not that way, not the white devil way.
The white devil way.
Was a big thing in the language of the Nation of Islam at the time. It was like, really okay, fine.
Don't get much whiter than us.
No, not really. I'm pretty damn pale.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Kristen.
Member of the NOI, he spent his remaining time in prison studying various other religions as well. When he was finally released in 1967, shockingly, his wife Dorothy was waiting to welcome him home. Without many other options for full-time employment, Dwight began selling books and pamphlets for the NOI, which actually turned out to be surprisingly lucrative. This gave him the idea to begin writing his own pamphlets that he referred to as scrolls, and combined ideas from the NOI as well as
scrolls makes it sound so magical.
Yeah, it's amazing how all this pamphleteering and all of that sort of thing turned out to be lucrative. Just look at Answers in Genesis, It's pretty damn lucrative, wouldn't you think? Coming up with courses, and you sell the courses and all of that. Or for that matter, some of the white nationalist groups that literally sell an entire package for homeschooling your kids.
Ideas he picked up from other religions as well. During this time, many men were returning home from fighting in Vietnam, only to find that there was still discrimination and a lack of resources for black people. Dwight thought that this particular demographic would be a perceptive audience for the views he was writing about in his scrolls, and he was correct. Dwight's scrolls were the gateway.
So like Black Panther party time too, huh?
Yeah, but the Panthers were not. But the Black Panther Party was rooted in had pretty secular roots.
Yeah.
Eldridge Cleaver was a figure at the time who was preaching revolutionary stuff, and of course Eldridge Cleaver turned and switched over in his later life to being a right winger, which is really kind of weird.
Yeah.
But,
well, I'm just saying it's a time like they're talking about the black empowerment movement after the boys came back from Vietnam. Yeah.
Right. It was black. Black power was a phrase, and black power was a thing, and it was the extension of, okay, well, it's fine to get rid of de jure segregation in the South. What about Detroit? What about Watts? What about Roxbury? What about Harlem? What about all of these other places where, there's all of this, but you still wind up getting this stuff? And trust me, nobody in this audience can deny that the same shit's happening now, especially when we see ICE going into Compton, going into Black Hispanic neighborhoods and trying to, even though it's totally illegal to do this, doing it anyway.
Yep.
To him developing a small group of followers who he decided to name Ansar Pu Sufi. Let me know if I pronounced that wrong. So his wife Dorothy agreed to allow Dwight's new group to live with them in their apartment, and a year later he changed the group's name again to Nuwaubian Islamic Hebrews. As Dwight's teachings and
your man gets out of prison after 3 years, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm gonna have my cult move in with us. Is that okay?"
I forget what Ansar means, but Sufi is actually a sect of Islam that is a mystical. It focuses more on the mystical aspects of the faith. There's a lot of numerology involved. There's a great book by Idris Shah called The Sufis that covers that movement, and the name of the movement comes from the garments that they wore, which were woolen garments, and tasawwuf is the name of the fabric that was used. So they wound up being called the Sufis. But anyway, there's that.
The Nuwaubians believe in aliens. Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry, Kristen.
It's happening.
Believe they were brought here by aliens, and other races are here to serve their better, more divine. It's between Islam and Hinduism with Zoroastrian peppered in. Yeah, sorta. Uh-oh. Bugbot's getting crazy. Hey, trees.
embellished and involved, he would actually end up changing the name several more times before finally settling on the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors. The word Nuwaubian is said to mean
A little bit
the
of
knowledge
everything there.
of God, and Moore's historic
The knowledge of God.
Yeah, it's the secret knowledge. That's what these guys always go. So, oh, it's the secret knowledge, and only I have
they
it.
refer to a group of ancient Muslim people.
Guys, and also, since more people are showing up, if you want to a $5 super chat, I will take a shot of alien vodka for every $5 super chat. Yes, I'm hustling all the time.
you
I
weren't kidding.
gotta be my own grift, because I don't grift bullshit like these cult leaders do. I gotta actually hustle to earn my keep. So if you want to participate, you can.
Come on, read. Those guys were hustling. They were hustling like crazy. You kidding me?
Yeah, this is hustle for sure.
But 8 more days. I gotta teach straight out now. No more parables. No more El Islam. No more Judaism or Christianity. Nothing but right knowledge. When you go down off the Mount Zion and you say, I spoke with the Lamb, so he ain't talking nothing but right knowledge. They say, what does your religion say? I don't have a religion. I am religion.
Now, I'm sure that you're thinking this escalated pretty quickly, but during this time, it wasn't uncommon for splinter groups to form off of the NOI or other groups like the Black Panthers. In any religion, people choose who
I
they
didn't even remember him bringing up the Black Panthers before.
He didn't, and that really bothers me. It's like, why bring the Panthers into this? It's like, yeah, all right, it's part of the same time and part of the same time frame, but it's totally different. Totally different thing. It's just, come on, man. That's one of the things that was so uncomfortable for me about watching this video. It's like, oh, well, we're just going to take all black radicalism of the 60s and
Lump it all together like they're all the
60s
same.
and early 70s and lump them all together when the Panthers were going out into communities and feeding kids and trying to affect political change. It's just,
Yeah, they're just
there's
painting them
a
all with the
huge
same
difference
brush.
between an isolationist, a black isolationist, or for that matter, a white isolationist movement, like the people that carry hie their asses off to Idaho and try to take over states like Utah and create a white nationalist paradise, which was kind of the dream of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and people who engage to change the system across the board. It's really like, let's don't confuse the issue here.
speak to them the most, and it's been said that Dwight York was extremely charismatic and had this aura of divinity about him. However, that may have been his own doing, because in order to better fit the role of religious leader, he did embellish his background to his followers quite a bit. Now, I mentioned earlier that Dwight's father was
Multiple times, I believe. We're going to get into all kinds of different backstories.
pimp, gangster, and criminal. Dwight was actually embarrassed about the lack of religion in his childhood and ashamed who his father was as a person. So in an attempt to appear more holy, he came up with this elaborate story about his mother taking a trip to Egypt in the 40s and having an affair with a member of Sudan royalty. He claimed to be the love child of that affair and to be the grandson of a religious leader named Muhammad Ahmad. Now, Muhammad Ahmad is a controversial figure in his own right because his followers considered him to be a Mahdi or Messiah. Regardless, there's no proof of Dwight's mother ever having an affair being related to Sudanese royalty or Muhammad Ahmad. It appears this was just one of the many manipulation
That's
tactics.
like they talk about George, is it George Bush being the, like the son of Aleister Crowley or something, like grandson of Aleister Crowley because of an orgy that his grandma went to. Crowley
I
threw.
never heard that one, but that's a good one. What the
Yeah,
hell? Why not?
that's a real one.
Crowley would be like that'd be.
I'll have to pull that up sometime and let you look into it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. Prescott must have been pissed.
Dwight would use to legitimize himself to his followers, who would then begin referring to him as Imam Isa, which in Arabic means leader of Jesus. In the early 70s, Dwight found yet another vulnerable situation to capitalize off of. The community of Bushwick in Brooklyn, New York was being crippled by crime, and in turn, diminishing property value. He was able to purchase real estate there at an extremely low rate, and in 1973 built his growing group's first mosque. From there, the group purchased over 20 apartment buildings, which became housing for the group that had reached nearly 500 members by 1975. He had his followers go out to sell his scrolls.
It's wild how fast these groups grow too. I mean, I guess canvassing does work, but
which recruited even more members. Some who came to visit where the group was living recall that the community felt safe and even holy. Dressed in white robes, everyone seemed happy and at home. It became a place where many people felt like they could be a part of a family. In addition to the scroll sales, Dwight also made money by encouraging his followers to file for welfare. He would then take the checks to use for the community, which is also known as welfare fraud. Even though it might not have...
Yep. Up there we go, yeah, and then Ronald Reagan's going to take this and run with it and say all people of color were doing this. And then in about a decade.
There's also this thing. I'm probably talking on my ass here, but if you do get welfare, would it be welfare fraud if a poor member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gave 10% of their welfare money to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as they are required to do?
Oh yeah, tithing. I mean, what about other religions tithing?
So it's just, there are these little things in the covers of things. It's like, look, the guy's a fucking asshole. There's no question about it. He's domineering, total charlatan and fraud. Cheating the gullible out of the small bits of money that they have. But I wonder where that leads. It's like you get your welfare check and you give 10% to your church. Is that welfare fraud? I think it may be more welfare fraud if you have to turn the whole goddamn check over to this guy. It's like, yeah, here's how you go and apply. And when you get the dough, give it all to me and I'll take care of you. I'll get you an apartment. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do the other thing. But anyway, just a small aside there.
No, it's a perfectly reasonable observation.
Been apparent to his followers then, Dwight was becoming enamored with his newfound respect and all of the money coming in, but he still wanted more. It was then he decided that his belief system should include polygamy.
Yeah, here comes the polygamy. It always happens, no matter what. The cult leader is always going to say, I talked to God. I know you guys might have some misgivings about this, but I talked to God. He says I have to fuck your wives. He said I have to fuck your wives. It's what he said. Don't look at me take it up with God. He just wants me to fuck him.
Worse is going to the guy's wife and saying, listen, sister, God has told me that we need to do some fucking. You can say no, but if you do, you'll be out of the, out of God's good graces
and out of our community. Yeah, you don't want to lose the community.
Eternal soul. What
the marrying of multiple wives. For many of the Muslims who had joined the group, polygamy wasn't a foreign concept, as it was discussed in the Quran. A former Muslim herself, Dorothy didn't mind the idea of York.
Well, yeah, I mean, Muhammad had multiple wives and practiced polygamy.
Oh yeah, plenty.
To their family either, at least not at first. Even though many of the men might have liked the idea of polygamy, it really seems like Dwight only truly intended that lifestyle for himself and not his followers. In a way to exercise control over the group, Dwight began requiring the men.
That's when you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Tsumame's got it right. Get out of my coop, other chickens. Love you too.
And women to live separately, even married couples. He said that if anyone had been married outside of the group, their marriage wasn't actually legitimate. Couples had to ask permission to see each other, and if they wanted to get married for real, he needed to be the one to perform the ceremony. However, by the 1980s, York decided to stop allowing anyone to get married besides himself. He eventually ended up with over 50 wives, but in order to add children to the
No wives for anybody but me. This is how it goes down. This is how it happens. Slowly over time, they start.
Oh yeah, Kristen Sofsets. Holy crow! Those people are incredibly cuckoo.
Yeah, she was saying in here in the chat that in prison the dude had actual scrolls, like rolled up scrolls. That's kind of. Also in prison, they were some sovereign citizen types. Please do a video one day on sovereign. Yeah, there's a few sovereign citizen alleged nations that we would probably want to cover. The Black Hebrew Israelites.
Those guys, and then there are the people that took over Idaho, the jackasses that did the whole thing up in Oregon. It's Jesus Christ. Yeah, they're all crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fox, they're crazy.
Jesus is the one exception to the polygamy rule. He had a polycule litter of 12 cat boys. Well, I don't think that Jesus had a following outside of that. He never got that powerful. It was Paulian. It's the Paulian cult that sort of took over, right?
group.
So he ended up with over 50 wives. In order to add children to the group, so what did he have? How many kids did he? So far, we know that he had 6 kids, right?
He had 6 with that first wife, Dorothy. Yeah.
Right. But how many others did he have? That's another.
With his 50
they
wives.
Get around to that, so yeah. So it's kind of the same thing with Joe Smith. It's like, oh well, he never actually had kids with those people, except he kind of did.
They asked his permission. It's also said that before they'd be given permission, they were required to sell York scrolls, meeting a quota between $20 to $100 a day. If they didn't, not only were they denied sex and other privileges, but they were also beaten. The children of the group didn't have it much better either, because...
So you get beaten if you don't sell enough scrolls? Or hand out enough scrolls?
Yeah.
Once they were old enough to go to school, they were largely kept separated from their parents and were only allowed to do homeschooling within the community. You might be wondering why anyone would want to stay in a community like this, but members had all been largely encouraged to cut off family, friends, employers from the outside, anyone from the secular world. And members apparently really thought that was their divine leader and that he had their best interests at heart. By the end of the 70s, Dwight had amassed 3,000...
Takes their spouses away, takes their kids away. That's like maximum control. That's wild. Absolutely wild. Let's see. Has any trans woman ever had the couple from the Mid-Southwest try to get you to come home or come to their ranch? The husband name's Charles, I think. I've had lots of yeah, anyway.
Followers in New York. From there, the group began building mosques in their cities and even other countries. But times were changing, and the group needed to figure out a new way to attract more followers. The 1980s was a period of economic growth, technological advancements, and the end of the Cold War. And people were just happier in general. Not only that, but
this guy voted for Ronald Reagan. I know it. I know he did. I just know he did. Fucker. 1960s bad. It's like, yeah, well, let's compare the economic growth over the course of the 60s and that of the 80s, and maybe we'll see a tiny little difference.
Music industry and pop culture as a whole, and it seemed like everyone was turning away from religion rather than toward it. So to combat this issue, Dwight decided to form his own record company to utilize the growing popularity of music to appeal to young people. With cash now coming in from the welfare checks, the record label, and scroll sales, Dwight's wife decided to start setting some aside as college fund for the children of the organization. However, when Dwight found out, he was reportedly furious and immediately emptied the fund. This made Dorothy's...
That's messed up. So he's making all these kids, and she tries to save money for them to be able to have a life when they grow up, and he's like, hell no, and takes the money out.
A college fund.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like he didn't really want them to have access to college because, you know, kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses,
education.
Who just changed the policy. Interestingly enough, the Jehovah's Witnesses, after decades and decades of saying, you know, you don't need to have a higher education because Jesus is coming tomorrow, they decided to say, oh, you know what, you really kind of do need to have an education because we're running out of money. You know, it's pretty weird.
Oh, I hope your dad didn't take your college fund, Ember.
Kristen, you're absolutely right. Excellent airbrush skills in his Photoshop game. No shit. He changed with the times. He was good at this.
Yeah.
He was very good at this.
Start to believe that her husband was becoming more interested in the money for himself rather than actually helping the group as a whole. She ultimately decided to leave him and take their 6 children with her. However, this was only one example of Dwight putting his own wants and needs above the group's welfare. He also decided to use $5 million to build himself a retreat called Camp Jazeer in the Catskill Mountains, where he'd stay in a mansion and his followers would stay in trailers outside. It was at the camp that Dwight's really sinister intentions started taking place. He reportedly brought back girls as young as 6 years old to teach about sex, and some were said to have even been molested and others even raped. Older women were...
And you can see interviews with these kids too. Some of them are grown up now and talking about what happened to them. I hope this isn't still happening to them, but...
Like L. Ron Hubbard in his mansions, and Judge James Rutherford, the Jehovah's Witness guy, and his mansion, which he called, what the fuck did he call that thing? I don't know. He had houses built on the property for David and Solomon because he expected those guys to come, you know, when they came back, they'd stop on by for cocktails or something. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Also required to help teach the children by showing them pornography and sometimes even participating in the molestation as well. Dwight also had members of the group participating in more illegal activity other than just welfare fraud, such as the sale of narcotics and illegal guns. By the early 90s, the FBI had begun looking into some of the ways the group was making their money, which is ultimately what made...
So I think the ultimate downfall here is bro got so cocky about this, like basically flaunting the fact that he was, you know, getting all this, amassing all this wealth. I mean, you'll get to the point where he's building pyramids and stuff. We'll get there, but even right now, when they're at the. So they went from the neighborhood in Brooklyn that he basically bought, that was run down, to now he's moved out. His first wife left him with his kid, with his 6 kids. Now he's at his ranch in the Catskills. He's got a little mansion there, and I guess the people are living in squalor down below him, his followers. So he only keeps ingratiating himself more and more. It's a trend.
Dwight decided that it was time to get out of New York. Nestled in the heart of Georgia, Putnam County has captivating natural beauty and a rich cultural heritage. Unfortunately for the locals, it was where Dwight York decided to relocate his group. In 1992, they purchased a building in Athens that would serve as their headquarters. But an old 470-acre game reserve in Putnam was intended to be their sacred land, so to speak. With the change of scenery came a lot of new doctrine changes as well. And it's clear Dwight would just make these changes based on whatever served him best at the time. He told the group that their new land was on a Native American reservation, and with this, much of the group's imagery and philosophy started being heavily influenced by that culture. He conveniently let them know that he was actually a descendant
cultural
of...
theft here, a little cultural theft there. What the fuck, you know?
When you move on to land that was Native American land, you become Native American. Like, you can start to...
and it's like, I speak of it as one who really shouldn't, because, you know, certainly my people expropriated tons and tons of Native American land, that debt is going to be hard as hell to repay over the course of time. But this guy, this fucking guy, keep going. Let's see what he winds up doing.
Pocahontas in addition to Sudan royalty, and he asked to know that he was actually a descendant of Pocahontas in addition to Sudan royalty, and he asked to be referred to as Chief Black Eagle. However,
how's that?
I mean, that's, what is he, fucking Calvin Coolidge?
Yeah, I'm descendant from Pocahontas, so you have to call me Chief Black Eagle.
that still wasn't the strangest lineage story yet, because not long after that, he began claiming that he was actually an alien from a planet called Rizq. He said that aliens from Rizq came to colonize Earth, settling in places like...
He's got the Riz. He's the Rizzler.
Sudan and Egypt. And his followers would be among a group of chosen people who would be beamed back to the planet to escape the apocalypse. That was supposed to have taken place back in 2008, but unfortunately Dwight's still here on Earth. Regardless, this new ancient aliens angle may have just been another one of Dwight's tactics to hop on a trend.
You're damn right, Kristen. Yeah, absolutely true. And why I didn't spend a whole bunch of time researching the guy, and even if I did, I'm not sure. I think it'd take a study of a few months to actually get down to get to the actual nitty gritty of where this guy was coming from. Because when you go into, if you start studying any of these cults, the nuances are important. The nuances and the influences are important. He did seem to be chameleon-like in his ability to adapt, but it's a I guess a illustration of the man's talent that he still has followers. People still believe this shit.
Kristen, I think that was in...
hasn't disappeared.
I think that was in 2008, wasn't it, Kristen? When he was supposed to have been taken from prison by the aliens to escape the apocalypse.
Nice.
Because during the 90s, other cults like Heaven's Gate were gaining popularity as well. Since the Rizq aliens apparently decided to settle...
I gotta say, Heaven's Gate, the lock and key thing that they got going on here, not bad. Not bad graphic design.
Yeah, they had good graphics. And they had dough and tea, and they were musical.
In ancient Egypt, Dwight wanted the group's land in Putnam to pay homage to their roots. He paid to have a man who specialized in crafting things like parade floats to build models of Egyptian pyramids, a sphinx, and arches, all out of plaster material. And Dwight decided to name the land Tamaray, Egypt of the West. To the outside residents, it probably seemed like a fun new theme park or a putt-putt golf course was being built in town, but guards with large...
That's what I would think if I saw that too. I'd be like,
somebody's gonna have to...
Is that a casino?
Somebody's going to have to tell me in what language Tamaray means Egypt of the West, because the Arabic word for Egypt is al-Misri, so I don't know where that comes from.
They have their own language too, though.
Oh, okay.
The how the fuck would I know what their
language is?
Guns standing around the compound made it clear to them and even local business inspectors that they weren't welcome.
Bits and pieces of all the world's major religions. Yet its members say they are non-religious, a fraternal order, like the Shriners. The group's leader is described as more than a teacher. He is the supreme grand master and happens to be from another planet. The Eatonton-based group has several names: the Nation of Nawabian Moors, the Ancient Mystic Order of Melchizedek. It all fits enough of a pattern that it has some Putnam Countyans nervously asking, is this group a cult?
70 miles southeast of Atlanta, Eatonton is the seat of Putnam County, best known as the dairy capital of Georgia.
Oh, they got 400.
The dairy capital of Georgia. Yeah, I remember Y2K crazy people too. I remember that. And then there was the 2012 people. that thought, the Mayan calendar. We actually, a couple weeks ago on Charlatan's Web, I had Helen on, and we talked about Sylvia Brown, and she had predictions about the 2012 stuff.
100 and something acres goes up to that corner yonder.
William Larman is a dairyman, and he's talking about his new neighbors.
Oh yeah, I'm happy for 'em.
But they are not dairymen.
Cause they said they come from what? Ritz. Planet Ritz, I think.
Planet Ritz.
It is not a joke to the people who've built these 2 large pyramids and elaborate Egyptian-style ornamentation and put up rows of double-wide homes on some 400 acres of rural Putnam County farmland and woodland.
However, in true Dwight York
Crazy, bizarre, I don't know. Putnam County is known as one of the sundown cities for blacks. Dwight didn't do his research. No, I didn't know that either. Yeah, thank you for dropping the Sylvia Brown episode. For anybody who missed it, PC.
fashion, he quickly realized that he could possibly capitalize off of the community's interest, and he decided to open an Egyptian-themed nightclub in an old warehouse building on the property, charging $25 a head. Even in 2024, that's a pretty steep.
Is the Bass Pro Shop pyramid the biggest in the world? Someone told me that, but I don't know if it's true. Let me look it up. The Memphis Pyramid. Yeah, that can be our religious center. Bass Pro Shop. I don't know if it's the biggest though. Anyway.
Cover. So imagine paying that amount just to party at a religious compound back in the 90s. The nightclub ended up being one of the first major issues brought up to the Putnam County Sheriff, Howard Sills. When he came to inspect the club, it was clear that the building was not up to any sort of safety code. It was after Sheriff Sills put a court order for the club to be shut down that he became an enemy of Dwight York and the entire United Nubian Nation of Moors.
So making it a nightclub instead of a religious center was the mistake, right?
Yeah, that was probably a boo-boo. However, you want to party, and maybe you want it to. They're near to Athens, so why not get REM to show up? And it's like, well, yeah, but no, maybe not.
Well, I think this would have been pre-REM though, right?
No, it's 90s.
No, we're in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the 90s.
Even though Dwight and the
REM.
sheriff had more run-ins here and there, over the next few years, Tom Ray was still utilized as a religious mecca for the group, which I think is now safe to refer to as a cult.
But because we kept...
Definitely a cult. And this guy is definitely a charlatan.
Yeah, this is
or an
interesting.
alien.
What this guy has to say is interesting. He's sort of shunting off the cult thing. We're not a cult. We're like the Masons. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, let's let him talk.
Getting slapped in the face with cult this, cult that, cult that. Then we had to say, as you can see, this says Nuwapian Grand Lodge. It's not just a chapter, it's a Grand Lodge, right? And our temples are going to spread across the country. And so it's now, in other words, time for us to come forward and let people know that the
I'm going to take a shot.
That they keep saying that the cult is a cult that. Unless all Freemasons worldwide
you do you.
cult, then we're not a cult.
Take a shot every time he says cult.
Yeah. Well, then I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. Gotta take my alien
Speaking of
head.
cult, you ever thought of doing something about the Bhagwan tree, Rajneesh?
Here we go. I like holding that up where it's like it's my head. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's drink to fiberglass pyramids.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
If you got a drink at home, you can participate.
I think actually, wouldn't gypsum pyramids be better because it's sort of, adjacent to Egypt a little. Sorry.
Yeah, I got weed
Bad
too.
pun. Good for you. I do too.
In
But
June, the cult would hold a celebration called Savior's Day on Dwight's birthday, and followers from all over the country would pay to come celebrate.
oh God.
One of these Savior's Days even brought in as much as $500,000, which helped pay for another mansion for Dwight to live in, while the rest of his followers were, of course, living in trailers on the property. He went so far as...
What's that?
Folks, I'm gonna tell you something. My birthday's coming up on the 30th of November. 500 grand would come in real handy.
It'll be save your day, save your staff.
You can, whatever. Just saying.
to make members buy a Nuwabian passport to enter the compound, and he even printed special Nuwabian currency, which was the only type of payment they'd accept
Well,
for
if it's
any books,
500
gift
grand in
shops.
Nuwabian currency, maybe it's not so good.
This reminds me of like remember the '90s Street Fighters movie with Van Damme and Raul Julius. And Raul Julius is that dictator, and he's like he's trying to pay off some hitman or whatever that he hired. He gives him a suitcase full of money and opens it up, and his money with his face on it. And he's like, "Those are bison bucks. It'll be the top currency in the world soon."
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what's weird is what's the difference between Tom O'Ray, Egypt of the West currency and like Bitcoin?
Yeah, the religious connection, I guess.
Ahead of his time.
He was just the Elon Musk of his day. This is Doge.
He didn't start out with an emerald mine fortune.
No,
so,
he wasn't an alien though. We don't know what kind of stuff he had on his home planet. And also, he was a prince of Sudan and Indian chief. So he had a lot of
and food. When Dwight decided to make the move to Georgia, the group ended up losing some followers, especially some of the women who had been sexually abused and didn't want to continue living that lifestyle. I mentioned earlier that when Dwight's first wife left him, she took their children with her. His oldest son, Jacob, eventually got together with some other former members to reminisce and talk about their shared experiences in the cult. It was during this time that Jacob realized the extent of the abuse his father put
his own. That's another parallel to Elon Musk, though, right? It's his own child that's like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And I think the other thing I noticed about this video is the stock footage chosen to use is just so weird.
Yeah. There's another one I pulled up, too, that has stock footage that's weird.
Yeah, this is really weird stock footage to pull out. It's like, what are we going to stick in here? It's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Women and children through, and that he was even escalating this behavior down in Georgia. Jacob decided to contact Sheriff Sills to build a case against Dwight, and even helped interview more former victims of the cult. Some of these allegations were corroborated by doctors in the area who had begun growing increasingly concerned of the amount of teenage pregnancies and potential sexual injuries of children from the compound. By 2002, a large-scale federal investigation into the allegations was in full force.
There was a lot of child abuse here. I don't want to downplay the seriousness of that.
Yeah.
And that's what he's serving his time for now. Because Dwight is still in prison.
I recall, not to prefigure things, but I think it turns out that the original allegations were like over 200.
Yeah. Which, don't believe the government about everything, horrible. For sure, but believe women, 200 women. Come on.
Yeah.
And law enforcement was planning to raid the compound and arrest Dwight. However, considering the amount of armed guards at Tom Array at all times, they wanted to do this as safely as possible and avoid a potentially deadly shootout at all costs. They decided to arrest Dwight and one of his wives as they were leaving the compound on May 8th, 2002, which allowed nearly 300 members of the FBI and local agencies to enter without resistance. A little over a week later, on May 16th, 2002, Dwight was indicted by a grand jury on an initial 120 counts of child molestation.
120, yeah. Believe that. That's
initial.
It's terrible.
Aggravated child molestation and rape. However, even more were added as additional evidence was uncovered. In a separate federal case, Dwight faced charges of racketeering and transporting children across state lines for illicit purposes. In January 2003, he negotiated with prosecutors to plead guilty to 77 state charges, including aggravated child molestation, influencing witnesses, and child exploitation, as well as one federal count of unlawful transport of minors for the purpose of engaging in sex acts and attempting to evade financial reporting requirements. If accepted by the court, the deal would have required Dwight to serve 15 years in federal prison. However, in June 2000,
he gets his. I mean, nothing that can happen to this man in this life will ever be justice for the victims of his cult. But
no, and there are people out there that are still saying this guy is in fact everything he ever claimed to be. It's just that's what's scary. It's like people will be, people, once they commit to the bit, they'll stay committed to the bit for a long, long time, and that's fucking scary. That's what I worry about the present situation, that outside of cultish behavior, which of course we could say that some of this stuff is cultish behavior in politics. These people are committed to the bit. They're not giving up.
It's like they say, it's easier to it's a Mark Twain quote. It's Ember will know it. It's to convince someone that they've been fooled into. It's easier to convince someone. I don't remember. Ember will remember it. I know she will.
Are you talking about the lie that will travel halfway around the world before the truth puts its boots on?
No, it's a different one. It's it's much easier to convince a person that they've been fooled.
People will believe what people will believe, and it wasn't Mark Twain. It was I forget. It was people will believe. People will believe whatever is necessary, especially if their paycheck depends on it.
No, that's not it either. But
not that one either. Oh Christ! Well, we'll try to.
It'll come back to me.
We'll
2003, a U.S. District Court judge rejected the deal, meaning the case would have to go to trial. In 2004, Dwight York was ultimately convicted of 4 counts of racketeering and 6 counts of child molestation. If the original judge had accepted the plea deal, Dwight would have already been out of prison. However, as a result of the trial, he was sentenced to 135 years behind bars. In addition, one of Dwight's wives was sentenced to 2 years in prison for aiding in the sexual abuse of children, and the government was able to confiscate the Tama Ray property, evicting all of its residents.
You have a man who was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
There's kind of like a little tour of the property here, too.
Yeah, it was extremely bad audio.
Yeah, you have to read it.
And he's a Mohammed, al-Hadi, member of the City Warrior family. And comes to Georgia, still running that game for a little while, and then decides that he is, and of course I kid you not, he is.
What I couldn't figure out about this segment is what the fuck this guy is doing inside. It's like, yeah, okay, you're inside this building in the compound with a bunch of boxes, and what are you doing there? It's like,
yeah, there seems to be a better place for him to tell the story he's telling, so we could hear it better.
yeah, there's that, and then and what is the relevance? He could be, he could be wandering around any empty warehouse anywhere. That doesn't.
No.
There's no context. It's odd.
From the planet
We found the poster, though. I thought this was cool. This was a cool part. Cool thing.
Here it is. Here's the name. The child molester, right here it is. And then we change from that to a reincarnated pharaoh. And then we change from that to some sort of retired Baptist minister. And then we change from that to an Indian chief. And then we change from that, to a rabbi, and he has a synagogue that he advertises that's actually an operating Baptist church. And that's what he is the day we arrest him. And then he goes back to being an Indian chief again. And then here, 3 weeks ago, he claims to have sovereign immunity as a diplomat from the nation of Liberia.
Nation of Liberia.
Well, you know, if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you could literally be an Indian chief and a rabbi at the same time. Pretty fucking cool. Why not? Sorry.
Culture within that.
Unfortunately, even if a cult leader gets put in prison for heinous crimes, that doesn't necessarily mean that they lose all of their following. In fact, many members will start to consider their leader a martyr undergoing unjust religious persecution.
Oh boy.
We've seen
even though hundreds of girls came forward.
Just wait, an Entropy fan. You'll see how much the yokel sheriff got off on busting this guy. It's disturbing. It really
similar
is.
behavior with cults like FLDS, with its leader Warren Jeffs being put in prison for raping children in the name of God. He is still able to preach to his congregation through speakerphone from his prison and gets weekly visits from his loyal followers. Similarly, there's a relatively large group of Dwight York supporters and active members of the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors.
Warren Jeffs.
We as
Similar
teachers,
story.
We're only doing our best, but we have contact with a master teacher, you know, so if there's any questions or things that we are not able to answer or address, he's still alive, even though he's been incarcerated, wrongfully kidnapped, and you know, our job is to get him, go ahead brother, is to get him out as soon as. No, use the mic so people can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what was
We're going to start some apologetics here, yeah.
he incarcerated for?
Right, he's been incarcerated really for putting out this information. He fought for years.
If the information was bullshit, I mean, it's like, come on. He's been incarcerated for... No, he was incarcerated for...
racketeering and child abuse, yeah.
You know, the child abuse stuff. I mean, it's like, you know, come on. That's...
It was
Which he
something
pled
else, because
guilty
they make
to.
up lies like they do with all of our teachers. Anybody that has ever come to this planet in terms of like trying to, you know what I mean, liberate us as a people.
Yeah.
And
the truth of aliens coming to this planet, I should be convinced by that.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, Steph, every time aliens come to
You
our planet,
betcha.
they get persecuted. Don't you know?
put information out. Not just even out.
I mean, look at me.
Leader, even if you look at like even Jesus.
You serious?
But thankfully, the bizarre pseudo-Egyptian compound is a distant memory for the residents of Putnam County.
See, this is what this is.
Yeah, there you go. That's what they thought of their pyramids and pharaohs and.
Yeah, but it's like this is disturbing. I mean, it's like
they could have turned it into a miniature golf course. Be like what Trump was wanting to do to Gaza. Turn it into casinos.
Chrissy, I don't know what the evidence was because I don't know what the trial was. I'm sure you can look it up, but you know, it just seems like we didn't sit on the jury. A jury did find him guilty of those things, and he sort of said, "Yeah, I did that." And the narrative and the there's the evidence. There's the evidence of the doctrine itself that is basically horrid. It's. I don't think it's useful to fuck around with one particular injustice and from the federal government and say, well, that wipes out any injustice dealt out by the guy that did this horrible shit. I mean, the guy was a charlatan. He was a fraud. He did establish a cult to dominate other people's lives. Now, you could argue that the federal government is called to dominate other people's lives too, but that's a different discussion. This guy spent a huge amount of time aggrandizing himself, ripping up his followers, stealing their personalities, stealing their rights, stealing their human freedom. And that ain't good. He was a charlatan. So that's my little polemic here. But anyway, this guy did, the sheriff, the Putnam County Sheriff Sills himself bulldozed this thing down, and that's like, come on, man. He just had to get his rocks off doing that. And come on, man.
Compound entrance, I personally bulldozed it down. I took down the Nubian flag and raised the United States flag.
USA! USA!
He, along with the brave victim.
Yeah. USA. Blah.
Victims and former members, including Dwight's own son, helped save countless women and children from experiencing similar trauma. In cults like this, there are glaringly obvious similarities between all of the leaders. The hunger for money, sex, and power. Hopefully one day the remaining members of the United Nubian Nation of Moors can realize that about their own leader too. So that's going to be it for this episode, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to listen about the time a crazy cult came to Georgia. But on a more serious note, it's important that we shed light on topics like this so we can be a voice
for the victims
in these horrible situations. This has been Joshua John with Behind the Headlines. Until next
What's
I got
up?
another time crazy call came to Georgia. I think it was in like 2020. Crazy call came to Georgia and basically said that they won an election that they lost. That was a crazy call coming to Georgia. How come none of those people are in prison?
Yeah,
I'd like to know.
So, let me see here. So this one. It was the other one that I was looking at watching, but I do want to at least get this like part where this guy responds. This was one of the members or one of the people who believed it.
Cool. I want
a true believer.
I want to see it. I haven't seen this one, so this is all new on me.
I'm to warn y'all, I'm trying to tell you.
Sorry about the visual effect they put on this with the zoom out and thing. I don't know if he's trying to keep his identity.
Volume's a little low for me. I don't know how it is for everybody else.
Yeah, I can crank him up more.
Yeah, there we go.
For me, I was caught up in that shit to the fucking T. Couldn't nobody tell me shit about Dr. York. Couldn't nobody tell me shit about the language. Couldn't nobody tell me shit about the culture, the land. Nothing. I wasn't trying to hear none of that shit. When that nigga got locked up, I said he was innocent. Ain't no way in the hell he molested those children. No way. But never did I think in my mind.
May I just comment on the production values here? It's like I would turn this off in a heartbeat because I can't. Why it's making me?
Yeah, it's gonna cause seizures. That's like seizure warning. I think this guy's trying to. I don't know if he's trying to keep his identity ambiguous by doing this, but
yeah,
I can't say why he's gonna do it this way, but
you know, he's just rocking his rock.
Never.
Anyway,
how in the fuck is a master teacher, a 24th elder that sits in the seat in the bureau of the mothership, a individual that has wrote over 1,000 books, gets locked up by regular human beings? How is it that a man that has over 76...
The Superman movie.
This is L. Ron Hubbard, 100%. This guy could be a Scientologist.
Right? Yeah, don't look directly at the screen right for the next couple of minutes. I just want to let this guy kind of...
This guy's idea of like, maybe he's trying to drive you nuts.
Trillion years of knowledge that people have seen him walk through walls and levitate, get locked up. Never asked that question. I never asked this question as well. Dr. York, what being pled guilty to child molestation? Dr. York, what being is in jail serving 130?
I don't like the notion that they're gonna try to push here that he has like DID, because I don't think that that's a good way to frame people with DID.
35 years. These are the questions that we need to ask. Since he claims that there's different beings that come in and out of him at different times. Maybe, just maybe, the being that molested those children wasn't Dr. Malachi York. Maybe that was Amanubi Rakbatar. Nah, that's bullshit. This nigga is just schizo. Just like Nature Boy. I seen Nature Boy get on fucking YouTube and say, fuck Young Pharaoh, I'll fuck you up, fuck Ashay Divine, fuck all y'all niggas, just gangster. And then the next video he did, he's sitting there crying, oh, I just want y'all to love me. I just don't understand. And then the next video is peace and love, blessings, reflection, I love myself. Reflection. And then the next video is, well, you see, there's no such thing as HIV. It's the protein, and
that's some crazy.
Wait,
there.
Go back a wee bit there. I gotta hear that one again.
Reflection. And then the next video is, well, you see, there's no such thing as HIV. It's the protein, and
HIV.
No such thing as HIV.
Oh, there's no such thing as HIV.
Yeah.
All of this stuff around my nose, it's not the HIV, it's the habeas corpus, the 2 to the 10th power. This nigga want to get intellectual and shit. And I'm trying to understand, like, what no, nigga, you're schizo. You see, those two deserve to be in the same.
It's also, I don't approve of just like diagnosing people with schizophrenia all willy-nilly. It's a clinical diagnosis. It takes a clinician to do that.
Same padded room together, wearing the stylish jacket called a straight jacket.
14 children testified against him directly, while more than 40 victims cooperated with the investigation.
All right, here's some of that info you were talking about earlier, Kristen.
Their voices finally breaking decades of enforced silence. The details were sickening, exposing a pattern of exploitation that had been an open secret within the compound's walls.
Just another video.
The conviction was swift.
I got this one in case that other one didn't get us to our 2 hours, which it didn't. So.
Yeah. Okay. But who produced this? Because it's got similar videos. It's got similar.
Lantern to Dark. So this channel only has 6 subscribers, but 2 weeks ago they did this video.
I wonder why. This is kind of weird.
In 2004, a jury found Dwight Malachi York guilty on federal charges that included racketeering.
This is the one I was talking about.
This is even weirder.
This is the one I was talking about that had the weird stock footage. Like.
Yeah. This is. I wonder why.
Financial fraud, and transporting minors across state lines for the purpose of sexual exploitation. The man who claimed to be a sovereign being, immune to the laws of mortals, was sentenced to 135 years in federal prison. It was a life sentence in all but name, ensuring that he would never again walk free to harm another child. He was sent to ADX Florence, the supermax prison known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, a facility designed to hold the most dangerous criminals in the federal system. The alien god was now just another inmate.
Is every fucking crazy penal institution going to be known as Alcatraz from here on out? Just like, give me a break, please.
Yeah.
The Alcatraz. There's only one Alcatraz, people. Give it its props. Leave it alone. Don't appropriate its name. Give it, it's a rock in San Francisco Bay. And God damn it, it'd be hell to get out of there. Because if you've ever been in San Francisco Bay, the currents there are not currents and winds.
It's an alien-proof prison, apparently, Big Zebra. Completely alien-proof.
There you go.
Stripped of his robes and his power, The verdict sent shockwaves through the communities he had influenced, from his devoted followers to the upper echelons of the music industry. How could the man who spoke of righteousness and black empowerment be guilty of such monstrous acts? For some, it was impossible to believe, a conspiracy by the government to silence a powerful black leader. For others, it was a devastating betrayal that forced a painful re-examination of the ideas they had embraced. The fall of Malachi York was not just the end of a cult leader's reign, it was a moment of reckoning. It revealed the terrifying reality that the voice of inspiration and the voice of a predator could, in fact, belong to the same person. In the quiet countryside of Eatonton, Georgia, Dr. York built his magnum opus, a sprawling 476-acre compound.
This,
Good doctor.
almost seems like this is the same stock footage they used for Eden, Georgia before. On the other video.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know, and some of those little, like the gavel coming down, that was part of the previous thing. Yeah. I wonder why this has become so interesting to people. It's right around now.
I don't know. This
is intriguing.
A list of charlatans from the last century that were
named Tama-Re. It was a bizarre, almost surreal sight in the middle of the rural South. Towering pyramids, a giant sphinx, and obelisks painted with hieroglyphics rose from the red Georgia clay. A strange slice of ancient
Egypt. But this is the real sphinx and the real pyramid.
Egypt dropped into the modern world. To outsiders, it was a tourist curiosity. But for the hundreds of followers who lived there, it was a holy land, the center of their universe. It was also a meticulously designed prison of the mind. I don't know if there's any more interviews in this one or not.
York's
control was absolute, and his first step in ensuring total loyalty was the systematic destruction of the family unit, the most basic human bond. Upon entering Tama-Re, families were fractured by design. Husbands were separated from wives, and most cruelly, children were taken from their parents. This wasn't an unfortunate side effect of communal living. It was a core tenet of his control. By breaking the natural bonds of love and loyalty between...
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the state took the land. I'm not sure, because, I mean, he was talking... The sheriff was bulldozing it himself, so I don't know.
Parent and child. York could insert himself as the sole authority figure, the supreme patriarch and father...
We're mostly here to just cover York, as far as the rest of the nation, and how they're holding up. Yeah, that is a point of interest, but it might be on the scope of what I had intended for tonight's broadcast.
All children were raised collectively, taught to see York not just as a leader, but as their true source of life and knowledge. Their biological parents became distant figures, their influence deliberately erased to foster complete and unwavering dependency on the cult and its charismatic, predatory leader. Life within the compound was governed by a complex and ever-changing set of rules.
But that's not unusual in a high control group. I mean, of course the children are... Oh, look at Scientology. Look at in a more benign way, a far less controlled way. Look at the Mormon Church. Look at if you want to go through gradations, look at Jehovah's Witnesses. Look at all this. Of course, high control groups have to control the youth, have to control education. High control groups have to make sure for the further success of the group that people are going to carry on these shitty ideas. It's like that's not weird.
Yeah.
From the point of view of the group, if it's like, why is that funny? And I always have to sit and think. It's like when people who are talking against this stuff, are you that stupid? I just don't understand why people can't see that as a plain fact of what these, the pernicious aspects of these groups is that they do this, and the answer to it is broad access to education. And in many cases, people who produce this stuff don't want that either. So I gotta wonder why.
York himself. He practiced polygamy, taking numerous wives from among his followers, some of them shockingly young. These relationships were framed not as exploitation, but as a spiritual honor. The children, separated from their families and groomed from a young age, were immersed in a culture where York's desires were law. They were taught that certain acts, which the outside world would call abuse...
What the hell is that stock footage of oh my God.
Yeah, the stock footage in this video is really weird.
Really, this is just grim.
Were sacred rituals.
This is from a very right-wing source, I guarantee.
A Sudanese tradition, or a form of spiritual cleansing necessary for their enlightenment. This psychological manipulation was so profound that children became complicit in their own abuse and the abuse of others. The 2002 raid on Tamari peeled back the curtain on this sanitized horror. Beyond the impressive Egyptian facades, law enforcement found evidence of the compound's dark secrets. They discovered weapons caches and disturbing sexual paraphernalia, including infamously...
Maybe not right-wing, but certainly racist. I'm convinced.
Hold on, he's about to talk about what they found in the compound. Hold on.
They discovered weapons caches and disturbing sexual paraphernalia, including infamously a stuffed Pink Panther toy that had been grotesquely modified with a penis. This single bizarre...
A Pink Panther with a penis. I would put on the closed captions for this, but it's...
with my private thoughts at you.
Object perfectly symbolized the sickness at the heart of the community, the perversion of innocence, the blending of the childlike with the predatory. The pyramids were not tombs for ancient kings, they were monuments to a living monster. After York's conviction, the compound was seized and demolished, its strange structures turned to dust, a physical erasure of a place built on so much pain.
I wonder if the compound, I mean, Kristen's got me wondering now if the compound was like seized in a bankruptcy after the court, because I can't imagine that, you know, after he was arrested, he continued to have the funds to support this compound.
I'll reiterate. Yeah, there might have been a lot of super educated and brilliant people involved. There are a lot of super educated and brilliant people involved in a lot of different cults, and it's the cultish behavior that's, you know, there are super educated people that don't think evolution is real and that believe that the world is 6,000 years old. It's like, yeah, okay, but it's all bullshit, and I think that is as bad as anything. I think it gives a pass to people who want to manipulate I get the creeps from both of these videos, basically.
Yeah.
Because of racial overtones. And it's like, well, okay, if you really feel this way, then how come Kent Hovind is still walking around and this guy is in stir for the rest of his life? Okay, if this guy's bullshit was exposed as bullshit, then how come Ken Ham isn't in stir?
Yeah, I mean,
ripping people off and the crap that they've done, and the only thing I can come up with, and how come the Mormon Church, how come the fucking Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the 12 apostles who have stolen from the United States government and have sponsored this CSA of the Boy Scouts of America over years and years and years are walking around free, and this guy's in stir. The only
Catholic
thing I
Church?
can think of for the reason, or the Roman Catholic Church, or any number of them, or Warren Jeff's stuff, any of these people, the only thing I can think of is that they have a complexion that is not quite so dark. I think it's really important that, how come Scientology, how come L. Ron Hubbard, how come the Church of Scientology got away with the most egregious infiltration of the United States government prior to Elon Musk? How come David Miscavige is still walking around? How come any of these people are still walking around? How come it doesn't make sense to me?
I think the 140 some counts of child sexual assault from this guy, specifically Dr. York, if Kent Hovind had those types of allegations lobbed at him, I would like to hope that he'd be prosecuted for that. But as of right now,
I'm down with that. But
yeah, just saying, as of right now, DAL hasn't had those kind of allegations thrown at him.
Yeah. Anywho, just saying, I'm not trying to say this to
One of the
cast
corner
aspersions on this attack, but I really am curious as to why now and why this guy. It's just really strange.
Stones of Dr. Malachi York's power was his seemingly endless stream of knowledge. He authored hundreds of pamphlets and books, each one presented as a divine revelation, a piece of a grand cosmic puzzle that only he could unveil. His followers, hungry for an alternative to mainstream religion and history, devoured these texts. They were filled with intricate theories, secret histories, and complex spiritual laws that promised to unlock their true potential. The problem was, almost none of it was his. York was not a prophet or a scholar. He was a master plagiarist, a cut-and-paste con artist on an epic scale. His entire belief system was a carefully constructed mosaic of stolen ideas. York's method was simple but effective. He would lift entire sections from a vast and eclectic range of sources, repackaging them under his own name and the banner of his Nuwaubian doctrine. His library of influences was immense. He stole liberally from the works of Zecharia Sitchin, a
Thanks, Kristen.
popular author who theorized that ancient astronauts from a planet called Nibiru created humanity.
Got to tie in some Nibiru with it. Were you wanting some Nibiru with your woo-woo?
He cribbed from Masonic literature, borrowing their symbols and rituals to add a layer of pseudo-historical legitimacy to his cult. He pilfered from the Nation of Islam, from texts on ancient Egyptian mythology, from Christian scripture, and from the Rosicrucians. He was a chameleon of doctrine, absorbing and regurgitating whatever sounded esoteric and profound. This intellectual theft was central to his deception. By presenting this jumble of borrowed concepts as a singular, cohesive revelation from a higher power, himself, he created an illusion of unparalleled genius. His followers had no reason to doubt him. In a pre-internet era, it was incredibly difficult to cross-reference his claims or trace his sources. He was their sole provider of information.
Why is being elevated by... then why... I've never heard of this guy. I could have gone to my grave without hearing about this guy. I'm pleased to know that he's he is sitting in a cooler. I don't think his movement, obviously there are people who still are.
Yeah, like Kristen was saying, she was in jail or incarcerated with them.
But why it's, and yeah, he was a charlatan and somebody who should be focused on, but damn, he's got no influence. Mormon Church got tons of influence. They own the fucking U.S. state.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, I'm sorry, but I find it really weird that there are two videos that pop up about this guy. It's like, and they're all just produced to shade this guy in appropriately. I'm not saying it's wrong. Yeah, he was a bad guy. But he ain't the problem right now.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, on the Charlatan's Web, I'm not doing political stuff or things that are active right now. I do. I talked about the Fox sisters who were like Victorian era mediums, so it's not.
Right.
It isn't. People from all time periods. Just as long as they ran a grift and had followers believing their nonsense, and giving them money, they qualify to be on Charlatan's Web.
No, I get it, and that's absolutely true. That's absolutely fair. I just have to, since this guy, the Fox sisters were in the, 1700s and 1800s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Madame Blavatsky. Here's another one. That'd be Madame Blavatsky would be a great focus, or Aleister Crowley would be a great focus.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is like modern, and these two videos, I was sort of like, okay, the first one ran through, and I was just a little bit disturbed, but this one, holy Christ, this is a polemic against this guy. And I think this guy was a charlatan. I think all of this, but I'm suspicious that there may be charlatans behind these videos.
There could be. Let's see who does this one.
That's what I'm saying.
Lantern Too Dark. Yeah, there's a video about Aleister Crowley and York doing the same pose too. Look at that.
Okay.
This one's the longest video though. This channel doesn't look like it's been around for very long. Let's see. Well, yeah. I guess joined May 10th, 2020, but they haven't been making content for very long. This was the Crowley video came out a month ago, and then this came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they've been searching around, I think, for some sort of thing, or maybe it's been parked for whatever. I'm just suspicious of everything right now.
Yeah,
I think there are tons of charlatans around, and I'm not trying to harsh your mellow, but or take away from the fact that this guy was a charlatan, is a charlatan.
When just a charlatan, he's a monster. I mean, there were
and a monster, yeah.
Child victims, over 100 of them that came forward about this guy. So, yeah, it's not just. And not just
anyway,
people,
be skeptical
building a narrative about him.
Be skeptical of everything. It's like, maybe if it doesn't sniff out, maybe it isn't. Maybe there's something stinky.
No. Well, I think it's a good place to wrap things up, though. Yeah, I've been running about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so we're right there on time. It's been an interesting video. You got anything coming up you want to plug?
Oh, golly. Well, aside from the transpositions next week, not really, I don't think. I've been letting my channel life fallow for a while because I'm busy in real life and enjoying that, and
yeah,
but still wicked concerned about where things are going. But yeah, everybody stay skeptical.
Yeah.
Don't take things at face value, because that's how charlatans gain their following. And I don't think that only fools fall for these scams, because there are tons of people in our community that have fallen for these scams and had to figure out how to get out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the coming weeks, as far as Charlatan's Web coverage goes, Ben's going to come on and we're going to do the medical medium at some point. I got it scheduled for this coming week, but I don't know I don't know if that's going to happen or not. If it doesn't, then we'll do we got Raelianism and alien eugenics. And then we have Tyler the Hollywood Psychic scheduled to come up. And then one that I'm really looking forward to covering is going to be the Narco Satanico cult, which operated out of in Mexico. It's pretty intense. That'll be our first October episode, I believe. But excuse me. Did you have a cult or a cult leader or a grifter or a snake oil salesman that you'd like us to shed some light on? Then let us know in the comments, because we're always on the lookout for new topics to cover. But yeah, we have a back catalog that you can go check out of Charlatan's web, and there'll be more to come. So please remember to be kind and take care, and we will see you next time.
Peace.